there guys, Portal Master 9351 here, and welcome back to my Skylanders Academy episode by episode breakdown. And in today's episode, we're going to be talking about episodes 9, 10, 11, and also 8. I forgot about 8 for some reason. I don't know why I can't count. But yeah, we're going to be breaking down episodes 8 through 11 and just kind of giving a quick plot synopsis. I've gotten a lot better at recording these. I've got a lot better notes taken for each episode this time. So I'm hoping to be able to streamline this episode a lot more than the past episodes. One thing I will add is I have decided now that when I am done doing the episode by episode breakdowns, I will be doing a like 5-minute explanation video of the entire season basically, so stay tuned for that. This is kind of serving as practice for that, but I won't talk too much more about just general stuff, and I guess I'll dive right into breaking down episode 8. Alright, so episode 8 is called One Flew Over the Skylanders Nest. And this episode opens up with an Archean robot harassing a couple of Mabu that are just pretty much minding their own business. And Eon sees this and he's like, you know what? No. Archean robots, no, you don't get to do this. Stop. And so he's like, and tries to fight off the Archean robot, but, well, the Archean robot is able to defeat him, and the Archean robot just pretty much goes about its way, and Eon's like, you know what? I kind of need to train a little bit. So after this, it cuts over to the Skylanders in their little group house, and Eruptor is making breakfast. And while he's making breakfast, they get called to go to training. And Eon has decided that he is going to train with the Skylanders. So of course they've got their normal daily training session, and well, Eon's going to join in because he figures if he can't even take on an Archean robot, his skills are probably a little rusty, and he probably needs to give a little bit of a refresh. So he's like, you know what, guys, I'm going to train with you today. In the process of giving this little speech that's saying, hey, I'm gonna train with you, he starts sneezing and coughing, and they kind of realize that he's getting sick, and he's like, I'm not getting he's like, okay, yeah, maybe I am getting a little sick. And so right after that, they pretty much all end up getting sick, and they all end up getting quarantined. They don't all get sick, they all get quarantined. That's what I meant to say. And so they're stuck under this giant bubble on this island, and they can't leave. And Eon does not want to be left alone, and so they're all afraid that they're gonna get sick, which, well, they end up getting sick. So while they are stuck under this dome, Eon basically calls up Hugo and says, look, we're stuck in a dome. Can you please get a group of Skylanders together so that, if something happens, we won't all die, and Hugo's kind of like, I get to form a team, yay! And so he goes to form a team. Then we cut over to Chaos, and we see that he is at some kind of an evil pet show, and he is looking for a pet, and this pet is supposed to be a fearsome and awesome looking pet that he's going to use to impress his mother. Well, he sees the Hydra, and he is dead set that he is going to get that Hydra. So it cuts back over to the Skylanders, and we see them trying to hide from Eon. They're basically going all over the place, trying to avoid Eon so that they don't get sick. And Pop Fizz devises a potion that should work as a vaccine, and they all take this potion. Well, it doesn't work. Surprise, surprise. So we cut over to Hugo, and he is basically just talking to the backup team that he has assembled, and he's basically just saying, alright guys, let's be ready if anything goes wrong, we're a strong team, yeah, there's that. And so, cuts back over to the Skylanders, and Spyro and all the others are of course on this couch, they're all sick, and Eon is right beside of Spyro, and he's like, you know what? Eon can't go anywhere. We're stuck in the same place. Let's go ahead and see if I can pressure him into telling me about my dragon ancestry. And, well, Eon's kind of like, you know what? I want some orange juice. I don't feel like having this conversation right now. And so Eon actually gets out of talking to Spyro about his dragon heritage, which is kind of like, what you got? What you hiding, Eon? What you hiding? Cuts back over to Chaos and the Hydra at the pet show. Apparently the Hydra can talk, and it's giving Glumshanks a whole lot of grief. He's roasting Glumshanks. The Hydra's name apparently is Jack, Jackson, Jackie. So that's kind of funny if you ask me. But basically, Eon is trying to talk, not Eon, Chaos is trying to talk to the owner of the Hydra, kind of, you know, make her laugh, kind of get used to her, kind of make her, you know, not so, you know, basically get acquainted with her, so that he can then later steal the Hydra when she's distracted. He has no intention of buying it. He's, of course, going to steal this thing. And so, he's just trying to get acquainted with this, you know, the owner of the Hydra. Well, it turns out that Golden Queen is actually a judge for this contest, that's going on at this pet show. Basically, like, you know, like talented pet, best looking pet, stuff like that. Bombshell wins it. That's not terribly important, but the main thing to note is that Golden Queen is at the pet show. The crowd ends up getting distracted because of Golden Queen and the contest and all of the other events that's going on at the time. And so because of this, there's a huge distraction, and Chaos is pretty much able to just get away without any issue on the Hydra. Now, the Hydra does try to kick him off, but what he's able to do is he's able to use his powers and basically lock down the Hydra's heads, use him as reins, and basically control the Hydra and fly the Hydra where he wants the Hydra to go. And so with this in mind, the Hydra is basically tamed and fully and totally under Chaos's control. So this is how Chaos apparently gets the Hydra, or something like that. The Hydra is nowhere near as big as it was when we fight it in Spyro's Adventure, but it was still much, much larger than Chaos, and definitely still looked like it could do quite a bit of damage if it tried. It cuts back over to Spyro and the gang back at their quarantine little island, and Spyro keeps putting pressure on Eon. He says, you know what, dude? I challenge you to a duel. And so if you win, you have to tell me whatever I want to know about my dragon ancestry. And if I win, I'll never bring it up to you again. And so he's kind of like, well, you know what? Bring it on. So yeah, Eon's kind of like, bring it on, and well, Spyro gets his butt kicked. Because of the fact that Spyro is sneezing and coughing all over the place, he is not in control of his flame breath, and because of that, he is just not in any condition to fight. And because of this, Eon is able to easily defeat him, and, you know, he's kind of like, well, I guess I can't bring it up again. And Spyro's like, Eon, what if I had won? And Eon's like, you never would have won. You never would have won, my dude. You never would have won. So, you know, it's pretty clear. Eon does not want to talk about this. Eon does not want to reveal any details about anything to do with Spyro's dragon heritage. And that's a little bit concerning. As Chaos and Glumshanks ride off into the sunset, Golden Queen goes over and talks to the owner of the Hydra, and basically is kind of like, did you put a tracking chip in this thing? You know, most responsible pet owners would have put a tracking chip in any pet that they owned. And we happen to be, us and the Doom Raider, our animal control group, we happen to be experts at tracking down animals. So, can we help try to track down your stolen Hydra? And she's like, sure, knock yourself out. And of course, Chaos is flying the Hydra back over to Chaosandra's castle. So, their idea is they're going to be able to find out where the castle is without actually having to, you know, find out from Glumshanks or anything like that. And so they just start tracking down the Hydra, you know, and trying to figure out where Chaosandra's castle is. So after the thing with Golden Queen, the Skylanders get better and they are able to resume their Skylandery duties. And because of this, Eon gets a call from Hugo, and he's like hanging onto a cliff for dear life with a sheep right on top of it. And he's kind of like, can y'all please come save me? And the episode ends there. Alright, the next episode that we're going to be talking about in this video is Belly of the Beast. So at the very opening of this episode, the cadets are getting to pick a Skylanders advisor, and this is basically a Skylander who will sort of help them train, help them extra hone their skills, and really just be a mentor to them as they go about their training. So Cinder ends up picking Spyro, because they're both dragons, makes sense. Stealth Elf and Food Fight, they pair up. Probably because they're the life element, but really just because Food Fight's kind of an interesting thing. Jetvac and Roller Brawl, they both team up because they have a very similar, or like very pessimistic, I guess you could say, personality. They're not very, they're just kind of like both really depressing. So that's kind of how they meet up. You have Chill and Eruptor, I guess just because it's like the fire and ice kind of duo. But then Bad Breath, he doesn't get anyone. Oh yeah, that's right. Wind Up also pairs up with Pop Fizz. Somehow forgot about that one. But the main point is, Bad Breath does not actually get to pick a mentor. And he's kind of like, he's kind of upset, but he's just kind of like accepting his fate. But all of a sudden, Sai, the Imaginator that's voiced by Dan TDM off of his Minecraft channel, of course, he busts in and he's basically like, yo, the Fire Viper attacked Kingpin. Can you please send a little help? Gives a little bit of more information and a bit of an introduction as to sort of the Fire Viper and Kingpin's little mystery isle, and pretty much the end of that. But then it cuts over to Glumshanks tending to Cassandra just in the castle. But all of a sudden, while Glumshanks is sort of kind of with Cassandra, Chaos bursts back into his mother's house. Ugh! That came out really slurred. Chaos busts back into his mother's house, and with him, he brings the Hydra. He's kind of like, look, I brought you this. Do you like it? And his mom is kind of like, Chaos, buddy, I don't have time for you. Get out of my house. We cut back over to the Skylanders, and Jetvac, as always, is devising a plan to take down the Fire Viper. It's incredibly overcomplicated, and it's really complicated. Like, I mean, for real. He's trying to explain certain parts of it, and it just goes on and on and on, and basically nobody's really knowing what's going on because the plan is so convoluted. But in this little bit of a scene, Sai decides to take Bad Breath under his wing. He sees that Bad Breath, you know, is sort of alone, doesn't really have anyone to be with, and he's like, you know what, Bad Breath, you can come with me. I will be your Skylander mentor. So the next little bit of the scene takes place over at Kingpin's Ice Island, and we can see him locked in a cage of icicles that the Fire Viper has trapped him in. He's not getting out. The Skylanders, they jump in a teleporter thing and they all show up there on this icy island, and they all see that Kingpin is trapped. Well, the Fire Viper kind of goes a little crazy and, well, swallows Kingpin. And Sai is like, oh, no, you didn't. And he runs right in. He completely ignores the plan. And Fire Viper also swallows Sai. And then Bad Breath. And then every single other Skylander that went to the Ice Island. The Skylanders, they pretty much get wrecked. I mean, they get destroyed. They all get eaten. And so after enjoying his nice little bit of a meal, Fire Viper decides he is gonna go to sleep. But the Skylanders, it cuts to the inside of the Fire Viper, and we all discover that the Skylanders are actually not dead, because they were all swallowed whole. So they are actually perfectly fine inside of the Fire Viper. However, Kingpin is not feeling so great because the inside of the Fire Viper is very warm, and of course he's a penguin, so chill helps cool him down. But because they're all kind of stuck in this little thing, the blame game gets played and tensions start running high. We cut back over to Cassandra, and she is, as she has many times before, she's using her magic on the pair of eyes and, you know, is able to continue to try to lock him away in this book. Well, Chaos kind of walks into the room where she's doing this, but all of a sudden, she passes out from exhaustion. The eyes go away, though, and Chaos doesn't really know what's going on. So Chaos sort of sees that she's getting really weak and sort of goes to tend to her wounds. So, as you know, in the last episode, it was discovered that the Hydra that Chaos has had a tracker in it that Golden Queen was going to use to track down where Cassandra's castle is. Well, they see where the castle is for a very split second, but all of a sudden, while they are preparing to go to war, basically, Glumshanks finds the tracker, and he doesn't know what it is, but either way, he breaks it, and the Doom Raiders lose the spot. They don't know where the tracker was, and they basically are kind of out of luck, because they don't really have a way to track down their castle now that the tracker is gone. Again, as I said, tensions are running high inside this little Fire Viper. Sai and Bad Breath are sort of getting, you know, discriminated against because Sai was an Imaginator and he was basically just allowed to be a Skylander without taking an entrance exam, and they're also kind of mad that Bad Breath sort of, you know, gets to hang around with Sai, and they kind of, you know, they get mad at Sai and Bad Breath. But anyways, it cuts over to Kingpin, and I got it wrong earlier. This now is when Kingpin is, you know, getting healed, because he's not feeling, no, blah, 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 ignore that, gonna have to do some cutting there. So it cuts back over to Kingpin. He's feeling a little better now that Chill has actually healed him and made him feel better, but he knows that something isn't right, and he tells the gang, look guys, the Fire Vipers should not even be able to come to my icy realm. The Fire Vipers are not this strong. They are not that resilient. The last time that they've been able to come to a place like my icy realm was during the Great War many, many years ago, and they were much stronger then. And I'm kind of worried now that there's a darkness returning, because like I said, the Fire Vipers really shouldn't be this strong. But he's kind of like, but you should know all about that, Spyro, you know, with you being you and all. Spyro's kind of like, what? And he's kind of like, because he passes back out. And so Spyro is like really genuinely curious about what is going on and why he should know about the Great War and everything that went on there. Kind of again alluding to the fact that Eon's not telling him something. It's pretty obvious now, Eon's not telling him something. Either way though, Spyro doesn't get much time to, you know, think about the fact that, hey, I'm being lied to, because the Skylanders are starting to get digested by the Fire Viper. And that's not good. They start getting sucked down farther into the Fire Viper. And, well, they don't want to get digested. Bad Breath, however, is able to use his powers, and basically he just burps as much as he possibly can, and the Fire Viper proceeds to then, basically spit the Skylanders back out. They get released from the belly of the Fire Viper, and all is well. They're able to pretty easily defeat the Fire Viper in its condition after they come back out of it. So after all is right with the Fire Viper, and that's all resolved, Spyro's up to Kingpin, is like, okay, you're feeling better now. What exactly were you talking about, you know, in reference to the Great War? And he's like, oh, I was like kind of out of it, so I was probably just saying things that I probably have no idea what they meant. It's not important, so don't really worry about it. And Spyro's like, well, okay. Right before the end of the episode, before it cuts back to the Skylanders, it cuts over to Chaosandra and Chaos has been tending to her this entire episode, and he decides that the real way to prove his loyalty to his mother is to give back his powers to her. So he gives up all of his dark powers to Chaosandra, and she becomes far, far more powerful, and gets her the full extent of her powers back. And Chaos officially wins the trust of her back because, well, he's given up his powers for her. Kingpin goes to Eon at the very end of the episode, and he's like, yo, Eon, we gotta talk. Our great common enemy is coming back because the Fire Vipers were getting stronger, and that's not good at all. And, you know, when this guy comes back, we know who he's gonna go for. And then Chaos is like, I mean, sorry, not Chaos. Eon is like, yeah. And so the episode ends there. So cliffhanger, hanging on a cliff, is kind of where we leave off in this episode. The next episode we're going to be discussing today is episode 10, which is titled, Who's Your Daddy? This episode opens up with Spyro basically being suspicious that, well, Eon's not telling me something. And he's like, okay, look, I gotta learn about my dragon ancestry, and so I have to actually read books on dragons. And so he's going through the Academy library, and he's explaining this to the other Skylanders, of course, and basically he's just looking for information about dragons. Anything he can find, he will read. He doesn't get to do this for very long, though, because apparently they have tracked down Chompy Mage. And so they go and they fight him, and, well, he's done pretty easily. They beat him pretty easily, but Jetvac at one point does get scared, and he lays an egg. And he collects the egg, and all the Skylanders are kind of like, what? But Ruptor goes and catches Chompy Mage, and all is well, but still the Skylanders are like, he laid an egg? It cuts over to Jetvac, and apparently has this gigantic chamber of all of the eggs that he's ever laid in battle. And he's bedazzled them, he's bejeweled them, he's painted them, he's dyed them, all kinds of things. It's like a whole bunch of Easter eggs is kind of what it looks like. And he has, yeah, collected them all over the years. And the reason he's done this is to remind him of every single time he's ever gotten scared in battle. And he hopes that by looking at them, they'll serve as a constant reminder for him to not get scared. So, it's kind of weird, but interesting, I guess. Chaos is continuing to torment Glumshanks now that Glumshanks has rejoined with Chaos and, well, because he's gotten kicked out of the community college, of course, and where else is Glumshanks gonna go? But anyways, to help please his mother even further, Chaos wants to find a good picture of not only him, but also of his mother, so that, well, she'll think of him fondly, I guess. So, the Skylanders are trying to make Jetvac feel better about his whole egg-laying thingy. They found out about this giant chamber of eggs that he's got, and, well, they want to help boost his self-esteem and be like, look, it's okay to be scared sometimes, and apparently Jetvac's dad was kind of rough on him about being scared and stuff, but either way, the point is they're trying to make him feel better, and they're all in his little egg collection chamber. But all of a sudden, one of his eggs hatches, and out comes a baby Greeble. But Jetvac is kind of struggling with raising the thing on his own, so he gives it to Eon and says, look after this for a moment, but it attacks Eon. He does the same thing with Pop Fizz, and it also attacks Pop Fizz. It's an aggressive little Greeble, baby. So, Chaos is going through more family pictures and stuff, and he's struggling to find a good picture. He does, however, find a picture of Chaosandra and Golden Queen together looking friendly. So it kind of implies that at one point, Chaosandra and Golden Queen were actually on good terms, but he's kind of like, that's kind of weird. But he also finds an envelope labeled Chaos's Dad. And he goes and he opens up the envelope, and apparently within that envelope is a picture of Glumshanks. And so they both believe, Chaos and Glumshanks, that this officially means that Glumshanks is Chaos's dad. And they start acting like Glumshanks is Chaos's dad. The baby that Jetvac was raising is, well, quite troublesome. And basically, the Skylanders are trying to help Jetvac raise it, and Jetvac is seriously just struggling with the whole thing. And so, you know, the Skylanders are like, look, Jetvac, your baby is a really hyper-aggressive monster. Something has got to be done about this. And he's like, that's not true. It's not evil. And basically it writes on the wall, I heart evil. So it's very apparent that this little Greeble thing is definitely not a good guy. He's really, really aggressive and really, really evil. And that's not good. They don't want it to be evil or aggressive. So the Skylanders are like, Jetvac, maybe you're just not cut out for this. Chaos and Glumshanks are basically having a giant existential crisis about the fact that Glumshanks is apparently Chaos's dad. They've done all kinds of father and son things together, but then they go to Chaosandra and they're like, we finally found out the truth. And Chaosandra's like, what have you found out? And they're like, oh, that Glumshanks is my dad. We're ready to accept it and become a true family. And Chaosandra's like, that was a decoy, in case you ever got curious. I wanted to know if you ever tried to find out who your dad was. And Chaos is like, who was my dad? And Chaosandra's like, believe me, you would not like him at all. You would hate him. And that's kind of the end of that. And off in the distance, a really weird roar is heard in the background, and we assume that it's the eyes, because the eyes are talking again. And basically it cuts out from there. And just the positioning of the roar against the you wouldn't like your dad kind of thing almost makes it sound like, is it possible that whoever these eyes are, could that be Chaos's dad? Maybe we'll find out. Anyways, though, it cuts back over to the Skylanders, and Greebles show up to the Academy. And they're like, we must fight the Greebles. But then they're like, no, wait. Here's your egg. That's our baby. And they're like, wait, that's your baby? And they're like, yeah, it's a Greeble. What did you think? That Jetvac laid an egg that hatched into a Greeble? We would have thought this was obvious. and they meet their little Greeble son, and they're like, wow, he's already really evil and really aggressive. And they're like, really? You're like, yeah, normally you wouldn't see this level of aggression until many months later. And they're like, wait a second, that means that Jetvac did not actually fail at being a parent, but actually succeeded in raising a really evil Greeble child. Good job, JV. And, well, the episode ends there. The final episode that we're going to be talking about today is called Sheep Ball Dreams. The episode begins not with the Skylanders, not with Chaos, but with Dreamcatcher in her dream realm. All of a sudden, the glowing pair of eyes appears to her and is basically like, yo, I know where Chaosandra's castle is. My name is Strikor. Listen to me. There's the castle. Boom. There. Go there. Dreamcatcher goes and she tells Golden Queen, yo, this pair of eyes appeared to me in the dream. I know where the castle is. By the way, this guy's name is Strikor. And like, oh, his name is Strikor, huh? Well, he's nothing. We'll just destroy him like everyone else that we ever meet. But also, please tell me where the castle is. And Dreamcatcher's like, I'm not telling you where the castle is. You've got to follow me. So Golden Queen's like, fine, we'll follow you. Stealth is flying back to the Academy in the stealth copter. What is it called? The Stealth Stinger. There we go. I almost forgot the name for a second. The Stealth Stinger in some kind of a storm. And basically, she can't really see in front of her. And all of a sudden, she hits Dreamcatcher as she is pulling the Doom Raiders on like a magic carpet kind of thing towards the castle. And so Dreamcatcher falls down and hits an island, and she has completely lost her memory. Stealth Elf goes down there and finds out that, yeah, she has completely lost her memory, and she takes her in back to the Skylanders Academy. Turns out that when Dreamcatcher has amnesia, she's actually a really friendly person. And because of this, they take the opportunity to try to rehabilitate Dreamcatcher into being a Skylander again. And so she's pretty receptive to this, and she is officially made a cadet Skylander. The cadets are playing this game called Sheep Ball, which basically kind of looks like a cross between football and soccer. Is kind of what it looks like. American football, of course, and then like international football, soccer. So yeah, it's not a real sport, but whatever. Anyways, they invite I can't talk. They invite Dreamcatcher to spectate and eventually to actually play in the sport, because it turns out she's actually really adept at handling a sheep ball. So they decide, you know what, yeah, you can come on, you can play. Cuts over to Chaos in Chaosandra's castle, and Chaos and his mom are spending some quality time together. And basically, Chaosandra's kind of like, yo, Chaos, I gotta go do some work. But thank you again for giving me your powers. Look, to make up for the fact that we've got to leave, we'll schedule lunch or dinner or whatever it is together next Friday. Sound good? And Chaos is like, I'm gonna have dinner with my mom. Like, it's some kind of like crazy thing. But yeah, apparently they're gonna have dinner together. The Cadets Sheepball team are facing off against a team of Greeble, Sheepball team, basically. And so they are getting their butts kicked at the very beginning. They are not winning their game at all. And it's mostly because they are not actually including Dreamcatcher in their plays. They were pretty much forced to accept Dreamcatcher into it. They very reluctantly accepted her in the very beginning, and it was mainly because of Eruptor giving her the benefit of the doubt. But anyways, they are not letting her actually play. They're like, you know what? No, we're not gonna include you. Eruptor at halftime goes in the locker room and says, yo! What the heck are you doing? You gotta include her! She's our best player, you can't just not include her. And they're like, you know what? Cinder's like, you know what? I was given a second chance too, because I used to be evil, but you know what? Because of this, we will give Dreamcatcher the benefit of the doubt, and we will include her in our sheepball game. So they go back out on the field, and they just start kicking Greeble butt. They just demolish the Greeble, they come back from behind, and they are able to win. And Dreamcatcher is a celebrated member of the team, and all is well in that regard. After their victory, they go and they celebrate, and of course, they go to sleep afterwards. And Stealth Elf and Dreamcatcher appear to be in the same room, but Dreamcatcher is in her dream realm, and Strikehorn, the glowing pair of red eyes, once again appears to her and is like, Dreamcatcher, why the heck are you not at Cassandra's castle? Come to me! Come to me! And she freaks out because she doesn't know what's going on. She doesn't remember Strikehorn at all. And she just dismisses it as a nightmare. But she does go to Stealth Elf about it and does actually tell Stealth Elf what is going on. The Doom Raiders pick up the newspaper the next day, and they see that apparently Dreamcatcher is leading the Skylanders sheepball team to victory. And they're like, well, we know where she is now, but also she's a filthy traitor. And so they decide they're going to go get Dreamcatcher and try to sway her back to the side of the Doom Raiders. The sheepball team's next opponent is a team of Mabu. I think they're called the Mabu Millennials, and it's supposed to be the Skylanders' homecoming game. And so they're facing off against this team, and they're doing pretty good, because of course they've got Dreamcatcher, and well, she's really good at sheepball, so they're winning to start with. While they're playing, Stealth Elf goes to Eon and is like, listen, Eon, so Dreamcatcher told me about these dreams she's having about this thing named Strikehorn. I don't guess that means anything to you? And he's like, that doesn't mean anything to me. Strikehorn? What's a Strikehorn? I don't know what a Strikehorn is. What's a Strikehorn? It's probably not important. Stealth Elf's kind of like, well, okay, you look a little weird there, Eon, but alright, I'll take your word for it. It cuts back over to the Skylanders sheepball team playing, and they're still winning against the Mabu, but all of a sudden the Doom Raiders come in and they crash the party, and they start fighting the Skylanders, and the Skylanders go to fight them off, and everyone flees from the stadium. In the process, Golden Queen turns the sheep ball into a golden sheep. Eon goes up to the Doom Raiders, and basically the Doom Raiders are trying to convince, Dreamcatcher to come back to them. They're like, look, you're an evil thing. And Eon's like, no, you're a good girl. You're good. Please stay with us. We need you now more than ever. And Golden Queen's like, I know why you're talking like that. It's because of Strikehorn. You're worried that Strikehorn is going to come back, and you have to get all that you can to fend off Strikehorn. And Stealth Elf's like, he lied to me. And Eon's like, oh crap, I lied to her and she knows it. And also Golden Queen knows about Strikehorn. This isn't good. As they continue sort of going on, Eruptor goes and picks up the golden sheep and chucks it at the Doom Raiders. In the process, he manages to hit Dreamcatcher upside her head, and boom, she gets her memory back. And then she's like, oh, well, I'm a Doom Raider. I guess I'll go with the Doom Raiders. You stupid Skylanders. Who would ever want to be a Skylander? The Skylanders are dumb. Who would ever want to be a Skylander? And it's like, Mind Blast. And she gets away with the Doom Raiders. After they get away, they again start going back to Cassandra's castle because, well, that was where they were going in the first place. And they figured, hey, let's keep going. We may as well. Stealth Elf pulls Spyro aside and is like, look, not Chaos. I keep saying Chaos and I mean Eon. Eon lied to me about Strikehorn straight to my face. I think this means he's been lying to you about your dragon ancestry. So, yeah, there might be something to that. And Spyro's like, I knew it all along. I knew that something had to be going on. And Stealth Elf's kind of like, yeah, who is Strikehorn, though? That is kind of what they're wondering. And that's what I'm wondering, too, because I haven't watched past episode 11. So we got to find out more about who this Strikehorn character is, and I'm sure we'll find out. But I'm really curious, and so are the Skylanders. So it's time for Chaos and Cassandra's meal together. And so they get their meals served to them. Glumshanks serves them their meals. And she's like, you know what, Chaos, it's time I finally told you the truth about really who you are, who we are, who your dad is, all that kind of cool stuff. But all of a sudden, a knock is heard at the door. And Cassandra gets up to tend to that knock. They don't think it's anyone bad. They just kind of think, well, it's like a door-to-door salesman. But no, it's the Doom Raiders, and all of a sudden, she is turned into gold. Cassandra falls backwards and is a golden statue at the hands of none other than Golden Queen. The Doom Raiders bust into the room, and Chaos is like, I'm gonna use my powers to defeat... Wait, I don't have my powers. And they're like, ha ha ha, you don't have your powers, and she has been turned to gold, and Chaos is like, how could you turn her to gold? I thought that wasn't possible. But the Doom Raiders are like, well, I guess that just means she's weaker than we used to think. And they choose to have Chaos and Glumshanks arrested, sort of bound up, and they're like, alright, now we need to find Strikor and kill him. So... yeah, they're going to war against this Strikor guy. I don't know why they're so dead set on killing another villain, but apparently they want to kill Strikor. And that is where the episode ends. Alright, so that is the comprehensive breakdown of Skylanders Academy Season 2, Episodes 8 through 11. Stay tuned, because we are almost done with this series. There are only 2 more episodes this season to break down, Episodes 12 and 13, of course, the final 2 of the season, where I'm sure most of the details will be revealed. But anyways, that is all I have for you guys right now. This has been Portal Master 9351. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.